This episode of our podcast is brought to you by Dulaban Insurance. If you live in Ontario, Canada, and are looking for the best price and coverage for your Tesla, give Dulaban a call at 1-855-385-4226 or visit their website at dulabaninsurance.com/Tesla. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another edition of the Tesla Owners Online Podcast. I almost screwed up on that one.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Oh, yes. We try to do this on a weekly basis. We want to welcome everybody who comes from wherever you happen to be. Either you're online or watching it on YouTube or listen to your podcast player. We welcome you. This is the podcast where we talk about all things Tesla and maybe some other stuff thrown in for good measure. I am your host, Trevor Page, and I want to bring in my two co-hosts this evening, Mr. Ian Pavelka and Eric Camacho. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Hello.
Very well, thank you. Bonjour.
Excellent. Well, spring is here. May 1st is here. Lots of new stuff to talk about, obviously, because there's been some changes and stuff. Let's get into it. One of our first articles we want to talk about here is Tesla's been making some noise a little bit lately about their insurance plan that they're working on, because I don't know what your experience has been, but my renewal is up in June. But my insurance company called me 2 days ago and said, Mr. Page, your underwriter is going to jack up your insurance costs $500. So we thought we'd give you a little call and let you know that we're going to be hunting around for a better deal. And I said, well, thank you very much. They did. But Tesla offering some kind of insurance plan on the cars, I think, is going to be very welcome in areas where maybe the rates might be a little bit excessive, or they need to take into account the better safety of the cars, so on and so forth. So Tesla has been making some news a little bit lately. Some of the details have leaked, but I don't want to get into it because it's not really confirmed yet. But they did say on the last earnings call that they were going to start an insurance plan. Now, somebody jumped onto Twitter a couple of days ago. I'm just going to bring up the tweet here so you can see it. Someone by the name of Speedy. He was asking if there's anything you do to help with UK's insurance situation. And Elon responded to them and said, we're working on it. It takes time to get all the regulatory approvals. He says almost there for the larger US states, at least 6 to 12 months for Europe. No mention of other countries or Canada. So anybody else who's asking about that, we don't have the details yet. I don't know what your insurance situation is, but I had to change. Well, the company changed my insurance to a different underwriter. They went with CA, which is the equivalent of the AA down in the States. And my deductible had to go back up again. So sad, but I saved some money. So how about you, Ian? Are you changing? Everything's okay on your end?
I almost don't want to say because I'm going to jinx it, but the insurance in this car was insanely cheap. It actually came in about $100 under what I was paying for my my 8-year-old A4, which blew my mind. And it was with the same. Actually, no, sorry, it was with a new company. The underwriter is RSA, but they were super competitive. I mean, mind-blowingly cheap for considering the car was double the value of the A4 and it's brand new, and I have replacement value on it. I mean, the whole
I do too.
I couldn't believe how reasonable it was. I have to think, because it was one of the first performance cars to come in, I don't think they understand what it is. They just think it's like some fully optioned basic Model 3. So I'm not telling them. Let's just keep that one under our hats. It's like, no, it's faster than 90% of the Lamborghinis ever built. They don't need to know this information.
Yeah. How about you, Eric? Any changes on your end that you know of so far? I mean, you've had your car for a year now, so.
Right. Nothing substantial. I have, I won't name my insurance company just for privacy reasons, but my rate's been fairly steady. I'm paying less than $200 per month US. I'd like to save more. I've seen the numbers fluctuate a bit, but thankfully so far I haven't had a claim for anything. I'm paying about, last I checked, about $60 or so more per month than I had with my Honda Fit, and that was a 2012 Honda Fit a year ago. So all in all, it's considerably inexpensive compared to what the value of the car is. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really tried shopping for insurance rates lately. But I know some people have been switching companies. It's not an uncommon thing. You should always shop your rates if you can, every 6 months to a year if you want. And yeah, so far so good.
Kind of like health insurance in the U.S.?
I mean, in a way, yes, but because of so in Florida specifically, like our rates are sometimes higher than most other markets in the country because of the frequency and the number of accidents we have here. So it always depends on where you live will determine what your rates are. So if you don't live in a dense area, if you live in an area where there's fewer accidents, lower populations, and your rates are obviously better. Because of the safety features of my car, there are certain discounts I do get through my insurance company, but they're negligible. It's a few dollars here, a few dollars there. So it is something that I sort of look at a bit when I was shopping around, but I got a lower rate when I initially was pricing them, almost in most cases about 50 to 60 less per month. I was seeing quotes of like 240 a month, and I'm paying under 200 now. So
that's good.
It really depends where you're with. And in my case, because I also have renter's insurance, they bundled the two together and I get a 5% discount on my auto insurance. So it's a case-by-case basis for me. Probably won't make any change for now while I have my tenancy and my rental. Yeah. But it is something that I've seen that if I've gone to different markets and talked to different people and their rates are much lower.
I see. Yeah, you got to like those multi-line discounts. Last year I switched my insurance over and my house insurance as well. My wife has her own policy with another company, and they said, well, you should come and at least take a look, and you're going to give him a multi-line discount and all this other stuff. But yeah, that's up for her. She hasn't gotten around to it. She's a very busy lady. So yeah,
I just want to come back on this because like I'm having heart palpitations. It's $2,400 a year for Florida for a Model 3? Is that
I mean, the insurance for my car is somewhat high compared to other cars in the market. But again, I mean, I went from a $20,000 car that I bought back in 2012 to now a $60,000 car. Wow. So on a cost basis, I don't see it as unreasonable. But
no, the amount you went up actually is super reasonable considering, you only went up, what did it sound like, about 30% or something?
Roughly about 30%. But because of where I'm at here in South Florida, there's accidents galore down here. So it's not unusual. South Florida, specifically in the Tri-County area of West Palm Beach, Palm Beach County, Broward County, and Miami-Dade County, see some of the highest insurance rates in the country. Miami is notorious for the amount of accidents they have down there. So again, I sort of took what I had and said, I'm fine with this. Because when I shopped various companies before I got my car last April, and again, I was seeing rates well over $200 per month. And mind you, the car had been out at least a fair amount of time, but insurance companies, I thought at the time, didn't really understand how to value the vehicle because the rates they were giving were really absurd. I mean, I talked to some Model S owners who were paying less per month than what the Model 3s were being quoted for at the time with insurance rates. So I haven't shopped since then, haven't felt the need to do that. But yeah, it is well over $2,000 a year. Now, granted, you can certainly in Florida, there's certain insurance coverage you have to have, like for personal injury and that sort of thing. So there's some laws that are required to have that. And, you can have certain deductibles. So if your deductible is higher, you might pay a lower premium. But then if you're in an accident, then you're paying more out of pocket. So it's sort of what you need. But Florida has established some of these insurance minimums for coverage that you have to have by law.
Yeah, right. Insurance is very, very localized in terms of what costs you have. You can live in areas where, you'll pay lower than other places. I'm like you. I live in an area where there is a large concentration of people, and of course, just by factor that there's a lot of traffic. The rates are a little higher. Now, fortunately for me, in my case, like before I had my Tesla, I had a Lincoln, and the insurance was maybe $1,200 a year or something like that. It's been average for me. And then when I got the Tesla, the only thing I added to that was replacement, and that jacked up my premium maybe $100. But then they came to me and they said, "Yeah, we want almost $2,000, which was another $500 increase." So after switching and things around, I think my premium went up $40 for the whole year. So they were able to save me some money. However, my deductible went through the roof because I had I forget what it was, but oh well. I figured, you know what. Maybe next year I'll take the full value replacement off. Who knows?
Put it
the
this
first 2
way.
years are expensive, right? So
My rental
actually, it gets more expensive later as you go. So
Yeah,
sorry.
my rental insurance for the year that I live in this apartment is I have about $10,000 worth of coverage on my policy.
Yeah.
It cost me $70.
Uh-oh.
Oh, did we lose Eric?
We lost Eric.
Personal effects. But
Whoops.
my
Oh, there we
car,
go. He's back. He's back.
Yeah.
We lost you for a second.
Yeah, my feed's been weird. So, but no, I was saying that it's $70 for the year for $10,000 worth of coverage, or it is, $2,000 for my car, which is only 6 times what I've appraised it for. So it's weird.
Yeah, insurance works like that. House insurance is relatively cheap, all things considered, because it's an immovable object. It just sits there. So, barring an act of God or fire or something like that, it's not really going anywhere. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough talk about insurance. We got some more stuff to talk about. Now, the biggest news, of course, this week that happened is our friends in the UK. The order page for Model 3 finally went live yesterday on May 1st. There's some other changes that are coming. But, so we had a bunch of reports, of course, on Twitter and on the forum that everybody's very excited they finally got a chance to order their cars. Now, someone also just hopped on Twitter because there are some other UK areas that are not available to order the Model 3 yet, and Elon said that they were going to be coming in the next few weeks. Specifically, let me just bring up this tweet here from this gentleman here. He asked about Poland, and Elon said he's hoping to cover all of Europe sometime this year. So there's no real given timeline on that. He just said this year. So I apologize. I said weeks, but it could be, could be months on that case. So it's coming. It's just logistics on their part. I don't think they just have everything kind of sorted out and stuff. So one thing at a time. I would suspect that we will see Australia go live probably. Well, let me think here. They're starting production. This is the start of the second quarter. Got to get UK in. So if we don't see it, it might be sometime maybe in another couple weeks or so. It should be pretty quick. Because right now, as we know, Tesla builds foreign cars at the start of a quarter so they can get them on the ships so they can be counted at the end of the quarter. So UK and Australia being right-hand drive cars, I would suspect it won't be too much longer for Australia. So who knows? Tomorrow might be another day and we might get another tweet and they say, hey, it's open by chance. So anyways, good news for everybody who's been waiting for right-hand drive Model 3s. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to talk about the big elephant in the room here because electric vehicle incentives. So Canada finally on May 1st, which was another pretty big significant date that we've been talking about for some time now, we now have a federal electric vehicle incentive program. Now, prior to May 1st, there were only a few provinces that had stuff. Like here where I live in Ontario, we had an EV incentive program that ran up until July of last year when it was unceremoniously canceled. So since then, we haven't had anything. But we've had 2 other provinces, BC and Quebec, that still run their electric vehicle incentives. And we've been saying a long time that doing it on a provincial basis, it would be like going to the U.S. and saying all 50 states have to have their own program. It's not really a fair situation. It should be at the federal level. Well, lo and behold, we now have something at the federal level. So that kicked in on May 1st, and of course there was a lot of noise because when it was announced, the Model 3 didn't qualify. It was nowhere to be seen on the list, so of course that made people very upset. One of the things about the EV incentive in Canada at the federal level is that the car has to have a maximum cap of $45,000 or $55,000 if the car has 6 seats or more. So there were some weird shenanigans going on in there. Well, lo and behold, I woke up at about 3:30 in the morning yesterday, and I saw that Tesla, or not only did the EV incentive list come online, but Tesla had posted something on their website, and I'm going to bring it up here so everybody can read it. So they say the $5,000 rebate for individuals purchasing vehicles with a base MSRP under $45,000 before including delivery center fees. The following Tesla vehicles now qualify for the federal incentive. So the 2019 Model 3 standard range with a range of 150 kilometers. We'll talk about that in a second.
That's 90 miles, people.
That's 93 miles, people. Coming in at $44,999. Literally $1 under there. call or visit a Tesla store to order. This is off menu. You cannot order it online. This is the standard range that they've been talking about, the fabled $35,000 car. Anyways, the other one that qualifies is the standard range plus with a range of 386 kilometers. And they've put a price down for that car, $53,700. So it certainly is under the $55,000 cap. Now, apparently the government has adjusted it now so that any car, there's some leniency as far as options. I haven't been able to read exactly what's going on, but I
can explain that one, Trev.
Oh, go ahead. Please do that.
I've looked into it a little bit, and it's fairly straightforward in that the base model of the car has to come in at under 45,000. If there are higher level trims based on that same car, that they are allowed to go up to 55,000. So you can either add options onto your $45,000 base car, or you can buy a higher trim level as long as the total is under 55,000. But if there's no base version under 45, even if like there was a base version of 47, it doesn't qualify. So you need that placeholder of 44,999, and then you can add up to 10,000 on top of it. So that's how they're able to get the SR Plus in.
Okay. By the way, if you live in BC or Quebec, you can stack the rebates in those provinces over and above. So the federal level, everybody qualifies. It's not a tax incentive or anything. We've seen receipts that people have been ordering for these cars. The dealers, including Tesla, are taking it off the top of the price of the car. They will submit the paperwork afterwards. So you don't have to do anything. It's nice and simple. So again, if you live in BC or Quebec, you can add those rebates. So I think in BC's case, if you have the Scrap It program and all the other stuff, you can get up to $16,000 off. So really good deal. I would implore Ontario to get back onto the bandwagon because they need to set an example.
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen, but one can wish. All right, let's talk about the standard range Model 3. 150 kilometers.
90 miles.
93 miles. Ain't happening. Nobody's going to order this car. No, like who in their right mind would order a $45,000 car that can go 150 kilometers in the summer?
Get a Nissan Leaf.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, it's the world's most expensive first generation Leaf is what you're essentially buying there.
Exactly.
Now, the interesting thing, and I think we've been asked this a lot on Twitter and cetera, is can you unlock the car at a later date? But go ahead, Trev.
Well, there's been a lot of confusion because as soon as I saw this, I immediately sent emails to Tesla to ask them for clarification on the matter. And the information that I got back was saying that we don't have all the processes in place. The understanding is that it will be software unlockable. They also told me that essentially what you're going to be doing is paying the price difference between the standard Model 3 range or the standard range Model 3 and going to the SR Plus, which is some $8,700. However, there has been some conflicting information according to the rules of the program that it's not possible and stuff. So we don't have an exact definitive answer. I know Fred at Electric said that they got back to him and said that no, there's not going to be a software upload. So I don't know. It's typical Tesla at this point. Until we have something official and it's actually up on the page, we really don't know what the situation is. My personal opinion here at this point is that this is a lost leader. It is a shell game to get this car under the rebate program. I mean, the standard range Model 3, we know Mark Benton ordered one, and what he got was essentially standard range plus, and it hasn't been locked yet. So I don't know what's going on with Tesla as far as the standard range Model 3, but the other thing, too, is I also asked them, I said, well, what's the deal with the 220-mile standard range Model 3 available in the U.S.? And they said, not happening. They are not bringing it into Canada. So until something happens at this point, that car just basically does not exist for all intents and purposes. It's basically a standard range Model Plus. That's what you can order.
See, my thing was I would, if I had to do this, because we talked about this before we started recording, and to me logically, if you have any inclination that you want to go with the 386 kilometer / 240 mile range car, then do it up front, because at least you can roll it all into the payments. It's a lot less painful when you're adding that.
Absolutely. I mean, think about all the people that didn't order autopilot And then they're like, well, maybe I'll buy it later, and then find out, oh my God, I mean, how am I going to come up with the money for it? So
Yeah,
it's always best to roll it in, as you said, into your loan or whatever. So
Having said that, if it comes up that, they'll unlock the normal potential of the SR, that is the 220 mile, 340 kilometer version, for what the difference was, because that car was originally listed, what, 47.5 or something Canadian?
yeah, like 47.
Call it 47, yeah. So for only 2,000 more, you could go from 150 kilometers range to 340. Hell yeah, I think a lot of people would want to do that. But
Absolutely.
doesn't sound like that's an option.
And I asked them that, and they said they're just not doing that car. So essentially, for all intents and purposes, everybody's going to be buying the standard range plus. You still get your rebate. Because even if you bought the standard range and you had to pay the cost difference minus the rebate, you're not ahead any. You're paying the same amount of money. So basically, our opinion is just buy the standard range plus. This is essentially a shell game at this point. I'm disappointed in the sense that what they didn't do was maybe play the game like you said. Okay, so you offer it at 45, and then after purchase you pony up the $2,000, and then they unlock it, and then off you go. I think that would make a lot of people happy because you get the rebate somehow. Well, I know it's not after the fact, it comes off the top of the price, but let's say you actually got a check in the mail. So you spend, a couple $1,000, you still got $3,000 in your pocket. But it's not happening. It's not happening. Oh, by the way, if you go price one of these cars online on Tesla, they're rolling in the $1,300 delivery fee into the final price, so you won't see it as a separate line item. So even though we're saying 53.7, it's actually more like 55. Because they're rolling in the $1,300 delivery fee plus a $10 OMVIC fee that's required by everybody up here to pay. So it's interesting, but yeah, I don't know. A lot of us were always wishing that we'd actually get the fabled $35,000 car, but at this point, it just does not look like it's actually going to happen. And Tesla's been backpedaling and they've been pushing this. It's not to say that they probably won't offer it in the future, but right now, I don't think it's. I mean, they've been cutting back on their planned closures of stores and doing these other things to try to get the car out, and they backed off from that. So I don't know, man. Well, Eric, you got any thoughts on this as far as what's going on? Like, as far as I'm concerned, the standard range Model 3, for all intents and purposes, it's dead. It's just not going to happen.
I'm not sure we have Eric on the line anymore.
Oh, well, it looks like it's a duo tonight. We lost Eric. We're having some connectivity problems tonight, folks. I apologize. We're having a flip-flop. We've been using Skype for some time now, and it's been acting a little funny, so we've gone back to Google. So anyways, we'll just, if Eric comes back in, we will continue on. Any last thoughts on this, Ian?
No, I think we've covered that real well. I mean, clearly the SR is still real in the US. You can walk into any store or you can phone in and you can still order it. So it's not completely dead. Let's not say that. But in Canada, yeah, it's not happening.
That's what I meant when I said it's dead. Yeah. I'm just referring to our particular situation. So
Exactly.
So, oh well. Just like we called the other episode, Standard Model 3, we hardly knew ye. Well,
in Canada. The one thing I will throw out there, though, is think about it this way. Like I always try to see the glass half full. Prior to the federal credit existing, your best option in Canada was $47,000, and unless you were in BC or Quebec, that was it. You had to pony up $47,000.
Yes,
340 kilometer range car. Now, with this extra $5,000 off, you can go up to a $53,000 car, take your $5K credit. That brings you back to $48,000. So for only $1,000 more than you would have had to pay for the base model SR, you're getting another 40 kilometers of range and lots of extra goodies as far as the interior features go.
No, absolutely. The SR Plus is a great value.
And autopilot, don't forget.
Yeah.
So, looked at that way, I think, which is the fair way to look at it. This is a win, I think, for most buyers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, moving along, the next one we want to talk about here is it's been making the rounds a little bit on Twitter, but I don't think a lot of people are aware here. The referral program up until the end of May has a bump. So if you're interested in buying any one of the Teslas, except for the Model Y, it doesn't qualify at this point. And for some reason, people are having difficulty using referral codes in Europe. I suspect that Tesla will get that sorted out. Anyways, So from now until the end of May, if you order a Tesla, an SX or a 3, you will receive 5,000 miles or 7,500 kilometers in your Tesla account. So each person gets it in their account. So you get some free supercharging. It goes into your account. It is cumulative. So if you don't have free supercharging in your car, well, you can use these for all of these. So it's a good little bonus. If anybody's interested, well, you can use any one of our referral codes. We put them in the show description and in the comments, and you can use those if you'd like that. So once again, until the end of May, if you're interested in getting a Tesla, you can use somebody's referral code. Anybody, doesn't matter. Get that free 5,000 mile or 7,500 kilometer free supercharging. Pretty good perk. Tesla knows how to pull those demand levers, I think.
Yeah, no kidding. No, every time we think, okay, there's no more new tricks. There's a new trick.
They always have something to pull out of their sleeves.
Definitely.
Okay. The next bit here, and I'm going to play the video here, that there is a new enhanced summon video that just surfaced. Now, before I play the video, we just have to be clear. An enhanced summon's been delayed. Now, Elon had tweeted some time ago that it was going to be coming out, and they said that they found some edge cases, I'm assuming at this point, that they needed a few more weeks to refine it. And even the latest software update that's been going out to cars, which is 2019 12.1, or a further .1, because I just got 12.1.1 last night. Still, again, no sign of enhanced autopilot, enhanced summon, I should say. That's the one where you can push the button and the car comes out of the parking lot and follows you and finds you. I've also heard on Twitter that some people who did have it was removed in the latest software update. So don't be surprised if you're in that program that it gets pulled. Anyways, I'm going to show this video real quick.
Again with another video.
It's quite impressive. It's a blue Model 3.
Now this is
and
where
it pushes the button, the car goes into reverse, and it pulls out.
In a parking lot.
And dutifully comes around and finds the owner who's sitting off to the side there with his phone. Some observations with this video is that...
and from the phone
yeah, there's some onlookers that come around and they're like, what? What's going on? This is pretty impressive. It's going to be a pretty neat party trick when we get it.
Definitely stick around for that. I think I've said in previous enhanced summon videos,
it seems to have some difficulty in, and this is probably, I can't speak to this yet.
As you just saw, this
I don't know exactly what's going on.
Backwards,
but when the car comes around the bend and comes to the owner, it seems to make a beeline for the owner instead of staying on...
This is going to be something that's
on the right-hand side of the road
for somebody who's
or the parking lot.
Or if you want to be picked up when it's pouring down.
In the absence of other cars, it's basically going to do this unless they fix it in some ways to try and keep the car over to one side or the other. But anyways, still pretty impressive. I'm going to stop the video now, so you guys will see this online. If you haven't seen it, watch our video and the podcast on our YouTube channel, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Again, links to the videos and everything we talk about will be in the podcast description if you want to check it out for yourself. So pretty impressive. I
was going to say, it looks like we've got an Eric back.
Oh, Eric is back.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay. Did you get an Amazon delivery?
Technology at its finest.
Yes. Well, we were just talking about enhanced summon and the video that surfaced. So, right.
Oh, so we're starting the show over. Got it. All right, good.
We apologize.
I was going to say, I want to apologize. I wanted to go back to just something for a second before I lost my connection, which is on the referral program.
Okay.
If you guys could indulge me for just 1 second. The one thing I think is interesting about the program is we knew not long ago that the program was sort of dead in the water. There wasn't going to be much of a program at all. And then we were introduced to the 1,000 miles of free supercharging, which is great. I don't understand why. Maybe there's a reason. I haven't figured it out. Why now we'd have the 5,000 mileage opportunity at a time where it's not like it's the end of the quarter. It's just weird. The timing of it's kind of strange. It's only good till most of May. But that being said, it is great that we're doing it. But the one thing I will say is I'm someone who generally has no interest in sharing my code. I know a lot of folks out there do. If you find that if you're an owner and your only reason for getting your code out there is just to get free mileage, my personal opinion is reassess a few things in your life, would you please? The idea of the referral program is to, one, carry out Tesla's mission. First and foremost, that's what it's for.
I agree.
But the more important thing is if you're someone who's out there talking about the company, whether it's Tesla Energy, the vehicles, or anything else, what you're doing is you're helping to broaden the base to what Tesla's doing and how it's going to benefit the consumer. So whether you get person to buy the car now with your referral code or they do it 4 months from now, it's fine. I, for one, don't drive enough or use superchargers enough to warrant the benefit. So if you're out there listening to the show and you want to use any of our referral codes or the countless others you find on the various Tesla channels or around Twitter or whatever it is, by all means, have at it. But again, we're here to inform and educate. So if you, as a potential owner, feel like you want to thank us for doing so, you have your opportunity. But again, I'm still puzzled by why the short-term 5,000, like it's not like they went like 2,000. They didn't go to like 2,500. They just jumped to like 5 times the amount, for a matter of weeks. So great. Thanks. Awesome. But I can't even now think about driving 5,000 supercharging miles, in a few years. But yeah, that's just me. I just wanted to put my 2 cents out there with that.
No, I agree. I almost forgot here. Each referral also gives you 5 chances. I forgot to mention this there too, though. But each referral now also gives you 5 chances to win a Founders Series Model Y or a Roadster supercar. Tesla owners who already have free supercharging get 10 chances to win. Mm-hmm. So guys like me who have supercharging included, because when I bought my Model X, it was still included at the time. So that gives me 10 chances out of I don't know how many others and stuff like that. Not like I need any more cars in my life at this point, but whatever. So use somebody's referral code, please. Get that perk. It's nice to have.
We had that debate over dinner tonight at my house, where it's like, if you get the Roadster, you got to sell it, right? Like, you're not going to keep that. It's way too expensive a car. I'm like, no, I'm going to sell the 3. That's what I'm going to do. There's no friggin' way I'm going to sell the Roadster if I win that. Are you kidding? That's the car they're going to bury me in.
I would sell the Roadster. I can do a lot more with the money for that car than I would with the money I would sell for my Model 3.
Oh, any sane person would. I don't fit that definition.
Well, we know you're not sane, but also to be fair, you are a speed enthusiast, so it makes sense that the Roadster would be your next love child.
Yes, that's an excellent way to describe it. But you know what, though? Other than the fact that the acceleration hurts the fluid in your eyeball, I still love how Franz describes that. But no, what blows me away is the idea that this thing, and I'm skipping it ahead, we're about to talk about that, but the range. Oh,
1,000 kilometers.
The range.
Yes.
The traveling you could do.
Yeah. Actually, let's jump ahead a little bit, because that was something we were going to talk about. But since we're talking about the Roadster, let's get in here, because our good friend Ryan McCaffrey, who runs the Ride the Lightning Tesla podcast, if you're not a subscriber, you're dead to me. Please make sure you subscribe.
Yes, that goes for, I think, for all 3 of us.
Yes. Ryan's a great guy. He's a good friend of ours. Really he jumped onto a Twitter thread here with Elon. Says, is the Roadster going to be 620 miles, or is there any of the S's new efficiencies going into that too, and pushing the range, dramatic pause, even higher? Elon responded, the range will be above 1,000 kilometers. And I'm like... So we don't know exactly what's going on here. There's probably going to be some efficiencies, maybe in the motors. I mean, there's been talk about the Maxwell thing. It might be too soon for Maxwell. By the way, there's a really great video that I found where somebody did a really deep dive on Tesla's future battery technology and what Maxwell Technologies really brings in terms of ultracapacitors and the dry lithium process that they use for printing the cells, if you will. Very fascinating. Some of that stuff has real potential to really give Tesla another edge. And as far as I know, the Maxwell purchase still hasn't been finalized yet. I could be wrong, but I haven't been following it that close. But it hasn't been finalized yet. And at the last, I think it was the Autonomy Day thing that Elon said that they were going to possibly do one just for batteries, possibly later this year, maybe next year. So, yeah. So if they do a deep dive like they did there for what they will do, I mean, they're not going to give away their secret sauce, of course, because that's too important to them. That's a lot of intellectual property. But if they do that for batteries and really educate the public on what they're doing, and if it coincides with what they're doing with Maxwell, we should see some really neat stuff coming out of that. So, yeah, some good range increases. Again, they've been very, very quiet about the Roadster situation. They didn't even mention the car during the last earnings call. They mentioned Semi and Model Y for next year. there is a possible chance a Model Y has probably been put on the back burner. It wouldn't surprise me. It's not a priority for them. I've always kind of figured this would be a 2021 car, so I'm not really making any kind of expectations as far as that's concerned. But speaking of the Autonomy Day, because they had the red Roadster on display, and some of the people that were there photographed it and actually sat in it, and we have a very good look. Unfortunately, I'm not going to play the video that the person took, but we have a very good look at the rear seat. Now, this comes from a Redditor called Backstreet at Night. Thank you very much. Posted this picture. I'm going to blow it up a little bit here, maybe so you guys can see it. There we go. So, certainly bigger than the original Roadster, which you could barely fit a set of golf clubs in there, but it looks large enough where the seat definitely looks like it goes back, or the rear seat folds down so you can get some more room in there. We do know that the Targa cover, is that what we call it? On a car like this, where just the top comes off?
A Targa roof, sure.
A Targa? Okay. So the Targa fits in the back. Looks like you could put, some decent-sized luggage in there. Again, no mention if there's a frunk on this car. In my personal opinion, it would not be a Tesla without a frunk. Even if it's small, you got to have something in there. So, I don't know. This thing is looking better all the time. The more we see it, it's looking pretty impressive. I mean, Ian and I were fortunate at the Model Y event to have stood like 2 feet away from this thing. It's pretty impressive.
You had to remind us.
Yeah, sorry about that. A lot of carbon fiber on that car. There's a lot. You know what? It would not surprise me, based on the weight of this car, that the body might end up being carbon fiber. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, for a low production car, it kind of makes sense. How they're going to build these in the thousands a year, like it's going to be in the 4 digits. So it's that volume level. It makes sense. Not at 100,000 cars, but at 5, 6, 7, sure.
Well, if anybody's interested in a Roadster, I'm going to sell one of mine. Get in touch with me. I'll make it worth your while.
I'm out. I don't have to wait. I can't save enough. I could go like walk in the streets of New York City, finding every coin I could, and I still wouldn't even have enough to put the down payment on the car.
Well, I've been thinking about it a little bit more recently, and obviously I can't keep both. I definitely have to sell one for paying for the tax exposure on the car and stuff. But if anybody's interested, wants to take one off my hands, get in touch with me. We'll work out some kind of deposit or something like that, where you can secure the car without giving Tesla $250,000 in advance.
A kidney?
A kidney?
No, we'll work something out. I'm sure there's people out there who would like to have one of these things, but can't afford the outlay, because Tesla wants $5,000 up front and then $250,000. We're talking about the founders here, but so $5,000 up front and $250,000 within 10 days. So you have to pay in full for the car. So if somebody wants one of these things, wants to take one off my hands, get in touch with me. We'll do some kind of deposit thing so you can get it, and you don't have to outlay that kind of money.
When do you think you would take delivery?
Oh, I'm not figuring until 2021 at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So lots of time. Save your shekels.
Operators are standing by.
Yes, exactly. We're really okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound like Jerry Lewis there for a bit, but whatever. Moving along, Gigafactory 3. Have you guys been paying attention to this thing? This monster is chooching. I have to remind people, the Gigafactory, I'm going to show some pictures here in a second. The Gigafactory, the groundbreaking ceremony was January 7th of this year. So not even 5 months ago. Okay? This thing was a swamp. Okay? Now, thanks to our good friend Jay in Shanghai on Twitter, he has posted a recent picture of the Gigafactory, and look at this thing. It is actually taking shape there now. So this picture is the render that Tesla put out. So it's got this one corner that seems to be cut and stuff. And this is the recent picture. The walls are actually going up on the sides. That cut is on the side. It looks like they have about less than 1/4 left to actually build as far as the shell's concerned. Now, when Elon said that they were going to have this thing built by the end of May, I was like, no freaking way, man. But I'm taking that back.
China, baby. China style.
Yeah, this is insane how fast they're building this thing.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
That's how they roll.
Now, so the resale scuttlebutt going around, well, here's the thing. They can have the shell ready by the end of the month. It doesn't mean they're going to be building cars. They got to spend the next 4, 5, 6 months installing equipment, running pilot programs, testing the equipment, running, putting the concrete floors in, all that kind of stuff. There was a report, and I don't have it here in front of me, but there was a worker. Now this is completely unconfirmed and stuff, and it's not even official for Tesla, that they said they're trying to shoot for a initial pilot program to build some stuff sometime in September. So, but my money's more really towards the end of this year, because even though you have a shell, you still got to put equipment in there. You got to test the equipment. There's production testing you got to do. There's a lot of processes and stuff, but still very encouraging to see this factory be built out this fast. Makes you wonder why we can't build this stuff this fast over here. We still got the Gigafactory 1, and it's still only a third finished. So something's going on. I don't know what it is, but
well, part of it could be, locality. It's permitting processes. It's the number of workers you have, the availability of resources. When China does things over there, they tend to do it pretty big and pretty quickly. There's a reason there's only one Great Wall. So it is baffling at how fast it's been happening, but there are certain reasons why they can build things at different paces than we do here in the States. We have OSHA here in the U.S., and other worker unions and things like that indicates how much hours you can work, and safety regulations and all sorts of stuff. So not to say they're not having something similar over in China. I'm certainly not familiar with China construction, but I'm sure there are reasons why it's a drastic different build time than it is here in the States.
I will say this. My parents went to China a couple of years ago, and they came back thoroughly impressed with the amount of building and structure that they do there, and the actual relative speed of how they do things there. It just seems to be they have a get-it-done attitude with a lot less red tape, bureaucratic red tape. And Tesla was able to secure financing in China for this thing largely. So they seem to recognize the potential of this company over there, and they want the business, and so it's looking really promising.
Which China needs. Between China and the U.S., we're the top two producers of carbon emissions in the world. In China, it's you'll see all kinds of images where there are a lot of folks who are residents in China walking around with face masks because the air quality is so poor, and that varies day by day. So it's interesting that they're doing it. It's great they're doing it, but the expediency and the importance of why they have to do it is definitely a long-told story.
If they can pull off the same thing, maybe in Europe, because they will have to build one in Europe eventually, I'll be very impressed. But this China thing is certainly going to be a model for what's going to be coming in the future. I think in a lot of ways it'll be, I think a lot of people are really going to be very interested to see how they pull this off. FineLab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled FEYNLAB, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla. We were meant for each other. All right, the next article comes courtesy of Teslarati. It looks like, well, it doesn't look like, it's actually a done deal, that Elon Musk and his lawyers have reached a settlement with the SEC, so it looks like they put their big boy pants on, and basically no punishment. So the shorts are having a field day with this one here because they were sure that Elon was going to be put into the slammer. But they do have some stricter rules as far as what he can say. So I'm very, very quickly going to read off, and the legal brief is here is at the bottom, but I'm going to read off some of the stuff that they can do, or what he can and cannot do. So the following section is the joint filing outline topics that require review and pre-approval. So they're saying that potential or proposed mergers, acquisitions, dispositions, tender offers, or joint ventures can't be talked about. Production numbers or sales or delivery numbers, whether actual, forecasted, or projected, that have not been previously published via pre-approved written communications issued by the company, or deviate from previously published official company guidance. Next bullet point says new or proposed business lines that are unrelated to then existing business lines. Presently includes vehicles, transportation, and sustainable energy products. Projection, forecast, or estimate numbers regarding the company's business that have not been previously published in official company guidance or deviate from previously published official company guidance. Events regarding the company's securities, including Musk's acquisition or disposition of the company's securities, credit facilities or financing or lending arrangements, non-public legal or regulatory findings or decisions, any event requiring the filing of a Form 8K by the company with the SEC, including a change in control or a change in the company's directors, any principal executive officers, president, principal financial officer, principal accounting officer. So anybody who's in any kind of important position inside the company. And let's see here. Such other topics as the company or the majority of the independent board. Anyways, I won't bore you to death here getting into this stuff. Essentially, don't expect Elon to be tweeting too much about Tesla in the future. He has severely cut off a lot of his tweets and stuff. So the bottom line is that, there's no punishment, but you're going to see a lot less activity as far as him talking about this kind of stuff because it all has to be pre-approved. So call it an end of an era? I don't know.
I mean, I think we'll still see things. It's a matter of just having someone sign off on it beforehand.
Yeah.
Which is, look, we like Elon sort of unabridged, unguarded, sort of in a way that I think any one of us with some wine spritzers on a Saturday night might talk to people in our circles. But look, Elon has gifted the world a lot of great ideas. He's been very receptive to comments from the public at large, whether they're Tesla owners or prospective owners. He's even spoken with detractors, trying to educate them on the ways of Tesla and what their overall missions are. So if there's now someone saying, look, we're just going to make sure it's okay, we're going to dot every I and cross every T before you tweet, is it going to inhibit, obviously, what he can say? Sure. But I don't see it. I think the frequency in which he's responding is going to be much limited, but I don't really see it as a hurtful thing long term, because they will at least respond in kind to those that are asking general questions. They will take feedback from people. I mean, like I said, I think the way of Tesla's not changing, even if he's going to tweet less frequently. It's just a matter of just having someone's eyes on it to make sure that it's A-okay.
The one thing that I like about Elon, aside from his humor and stuff, is that he has a great way of taking constructive criticism. He actually encourages it. Mm-hmm. I've not seen a lot of people like that. I mean, look, we're human beings. We don't like to be criticized. We always think that we're right and what we do is right and stuff. So it really takes a special kind of person to be able to take constructive criticism in a good way. Nobody likes non-constructive criticism because it doesn't get you anywhere, but he has an innate ability to be able to accept it and act on it. So I've never seen anybody from any CEO of any company do anything something close like this. So I appreciate that he's on Twitter and stuff. Last year got a little nuts there with some of the stuff that was going on with the Thai cavers and, the 420s and, and the Joe Rogan thing. And I'm going to attribute some of that to stress because, 2018 was a pretty rough year for him. But, I just feel that, just judging from what he's been saying recently and stuff, he's been laying off a lot of that stuff.
I was going to say really quickly, and I'll let Ian chime in here, but my overall thing, too, is that, and as someone who's struggled with mental health before, and I'm not certainly inferring that Elon has any problem with this, but when you're in the public eye like that, celebrity, CEO, anyone, you are the target of every kind of audience there is. And there are a lot of people who have been trying to find everything they can on Tesla and Elon and the company to sort of try to find a weakness and hit it. Avengers Endgame is the big thing now. So, obviously it's like you're fighting Thanos. You're trying to find the thing that's going to obviously end it all. And for Elon to not only be the face in front of Tesla, but there's SpaceX. There was a time before that where it was PayPal and all the different ventures he's done. There's all the AI stuff he's getting into. So he is by and large always doing something somewhere. His issue with sleep has been long talked about. He himself has admitted a number of times in various interviews that he doesn't get a lot of sleep. He was known for a time for sleeping in the factory floor, or at least on a very uncomfortable sofa, as it were. So I think we need to just collectively just take a step back and understand that, yes, it is. I can't imagine what the stress level is like for him in this position. But for him to be as front facing and as public accessible as he has been for all this time running Tesla is nothing short of amazing if you think about it. Yeah. But Ian, I'd like to have your thoughts as well on this.
No, I think you guys nailed it. I don't really think I can add too much to it.
Well done.
I think we're going to get a lot more meme tweets. I'm down with that. That's fine.
I just hope that it seems that production hell is largely over, and I hope that he has more time for himself and his family and relaxing a little bit.
Yeah,
not to say that they won't have more production hell with maybe some other vehicles. Largely, I'm hoping Model Y. I mean, if they copy what they did with Model 3, it should be hopefully smoother, and some other cars too. So, the one takeaway from production hell, obviously, is they've learned. They've learned what to do and what not to do. So hopefully they don't rock the boat too much and repeat the same mistakes. I'm sure that going through that, they don't want to do that again.
The assembly line in the 10s for Model 3, I think, was a great success. Oh, yeah. That helped a lot. And I know with, they're now expanding in UK and Europe, and hopefully China's going to come online pretty soon. Like I think to your point, we're going to see less and less of the stresses that came with these different deadlines. I know that there was news in the last 24 hours of them trying to get more capital. So they sort of balanced their books a bit for the quarter, which they're pretty much close to doing, if not already. So they're going to eventually get steady. The goal, I think, was two investor calls ago, where they said that, from this point forward, we're going to always show a profit every quarter. If they're going to try to hold to that mark every quarter, then that might add some stress from time to time. But so far the company's to me it's healthy. But I think more importantly, we want Elon to just remain healthy. So yeah,
I think production hell's largely over. Now they're in logistics hell. They're still trying to figure out. Even at the last call, they said that they're changing the way that they do production in the car. So instead of front ending, they're going to try and do more of a product mix as they go. They still have issues with deliveries. I'm still getting reports of people where they've dropped the ball. These are just things that will get solved in due time. They're going to find. They'll find the right formula eventually. It just takes a little time to get there. So
yeah, and the company's not even 10 years old yet,
16.
Or 10-ish. Yeah. But.
All right. Next little one here. We have two more little bits to talk about tonight. We don't like to talk about consumer reports too much, but we did find an article from these guys where they were asking, they had a poll, and they're talking about choose an infotainment system you like, which is basically explaining the most important features to look for and benefits of a smartphone-based systems. Now, this is relating to cars because there's been a shift, obviously, started with Tesla to do touch-based infotainment systems. Instead of being third-party developed, it's more internal. Now, since then, of course, over the last few years, we've had the advent of things like CarPlay and Android Auto, which are infotainment systems designed to integrate with car audio systems that are built into the operating systems of the two most popular smartphone platforms in the world. And they've done fairly well. It's taken a few years for most of the car manufacturers to actually start implementing this, but I know Volkswagen, for example, started introducing this in 2018. Some others have started maybe the year before. So it's starting to happen on some of these things. So they actually came back, and we're going to show the results here at the bottom. The highest rating, surprisingly enough, is Tesla. They get 86% score, and basically they rated it audio, calls, and navigation. So Tesla gets very high marks on all of those. BMW comes in second with their iDrive system, which is gesture-based control system. I've tried it. It's not too bad. Genesis, which I'm going to assume is the higher-end Hyundai, right? Thank you. Interestingly, Ford Lincoln coming in with Ford Sync in the fourth position. Now, my My Lincoln had sync, but it was sync 2, and it not so good. Sorry, laggy, slow. Sync 3 is based on the QNX operating system, which I think is owned by BlackBerry, if I remember correctly. It's more of a real-time operating system, so it's slightly better, but it's not anywhere near like a Tesla or anything like that. I personally, if I was to get a car, I would really opt for something like Android Auto or CarPlay. If you guys had a chance to play with that, those technologies I think have legs, and I think for most of the manufacturers, instead of rolling your own, I think a lot of them are starting to go that way because it divorces them from having to deal with it. They can just do what they need to do as far as the car system is concerned, and because more and more people want a connected device in their car, that it makes more sense for them to do one of those things. The other thing that I've noticed a lot with some of the newer cars is it seems to be, now I could be wrong, it seems to be more difficult to change the head units in most of these newer cars. Remember there was a time when you could just rip out the radio and just put your own in?
Yeah.
Did it many times.
It seems to be getting harder.
Harder. In a lot of cars, it's virtually impossible. I mean, you have to buy like half the dash. Like there's like increasingly more complex kits you can buy to do retrofits on them. Mm-hmm. It's getting to the point where kind of why would you? Because I worked in the automotive aftermarket so long, I'm still friends with some of the higher end shops that do automotive audio here in Montreal. And I mean, it's 10% of what that business was, 15, 20 years ago. But the new trend now is to build onto the factory system. In other words, work with the factory head unit because they're pretty much embedded into the car, mm-hmm. and improve the rest. And you still have to go through huge gyrations because some of these systems now have like 2, 3, 4 amplifiers and they're split into different frequency ranges. And it's a deep rabbit hole to dig down, but I mean, you got to know somebody who knows what they're doing to tap in there and fix them. But
I think
people are still doing it.
Yeah, I think the most interesting one, and we haven't seen it yet because the car's not in production yet, but what Volvo is going to do with their Polestar line, right? With the new Polestar where they've got the vertical screen, but they've actually built in essentially Android, which is and they're working in concert with Google to offer a very Tesla-like interface based on Google's Android system, specifically designed for their cars. So I hope that has legs. For those guys, I just hope that they don't do a lot of the usual Android things with a lot of data tracking and stuff because it is Google after all. So hopefully they'll nail that down. They say that they're going to offer apps on that system. Again, I hope they're completely vetted in the sense because the last thing you need is some kind of app that you can download on the Android Play Store. And I've seen it before because I've had both phones over the years. You get something that might have a virus in it, and who knows what they could do to the cars. And I think largely that's why Tesla has yet to open or probably will never open their SDK. There was some talk a number of years ago, I think back in 2013, they said, well, we might open it up and write apps. That is yet to materialize. And I think in a lot of ways Tesla's decided we're not going to go down that road. It just opens up too many vectors of intrusion on the cars. Security is very important on these things. As more cars get more and more connected, you can't be having that stuff going on. I mean, we had that experience with... what was it, Chrysler a number of years ago, right? Some hackers basically were able to stop the car on command because they were able to get into the braking system and stop it. So security is real important on these connected cars.
Before we go into our last story of our rundown,
which is a doozy,
I do have some breaking news.
Oh, we love breaking news. Thank you, Eric. What do we have today?
So there were reports earlier today. Our friends at Testify on Twitter had announced that software version 2019.12.1.2 was detected in the Tesla Model S 100D with Autopilot 2.5 software. Our other friend on Twitter, known as Purple Model 3, Nate, he now also has the same software. And the reason why I announced this is because Tesla has today, just announced moments ago, courtesy of their blog, 2 advanced safety features now being deployed to all vehicles built from August 2016 and newer, starting with Model 3. The 2 features are lane departure avoidance and emergency lane departure avoidance. So I'm going to read a little bit off this blog here. So I know reading is boring, but bear with me just a moment here.
You talk. I'm going to bring it up. I found it. Go ahead.
Sure, no problem. So today we're introducing 2 new safety features designed to help prevent drivers from inadvertently departing their lane, which our data shows is a common cause of accidents when autopilot is not in use. These new features help drivers stay engaged and in their lane in order to avoid collisions. So lane departure avoidance, lets a driver elect to have corrective steering applied in order to keep them in their intended lane. When the feature is in use and a driver is departing a lane without their turn signal on, the car will also check to see whether a driver's hands are on the wheel. If a driver's hands are not detected on the wheel, the driver will receive a series of hands-on reminders and alerts, similar to the ones that our cars provide to customers who use autopilot. If a driver's hands are repeatedly not detected on the wheel when traffic-aware cruise control is in use, the car will gradually slow down to 15 miles below the speed limit or below the car's set speed and turn its hazard lights on. This feature can be turned on or off and works at speeds between 25 and 90 miles per hour. It is an extension of lane departure warning, which already warns drivers through a steering wheel vibration if they begin to drift out of their lane without their turn signal engaged. And the other feature here is emergency lane departure avoidance. It is designed to steer a Tesla vehicle back into the driving lane if the system detects that it's departing its lane and there could be a collision, or if the car is close to the edge of the road. This feature will automatically be enabled at the beginning of every drive, but can be turned off for a single drive by going to the autopilot controls menu. So those new features are being deployed as part of the 2019.12.1.2 software release, which begins its rollout today.
Awesome. You gotta like this. These constant changes. I mean, I just got 12.1 this morning.
Yeah, I got .1 a few days ago. Here's what I like. So I know you did a video today, Trev, of some of your updates in your Model X.
Oh, it was a quick and dirty one. It wasn't a full
quick and dirty one, but at least it highlights some of the new features there. But I have yet to play the new Tesla games myself.
Neither have I.
But it's some of the things that, first of all, to see the software update is great, because when I went to my car the next morning, it showed me the navigation maps were downloading. And when I drove away, because I left my home Wi-Fi, it indicated like we got to finish this later. Make sure you connect to a Wi-Fi network. So it's good that you can see that, oh my gosh, the maps are downloading, which you really couldn't tell before.
Was that in the software button down in the screen?
Okay. You saw it there. And I could tell when it was gone, because at some point when I came home, I had the update, and then I went back to my car the next day and saw that the progress bar was already gone. There's a lot of good updates now, but now I'm interested. Like, again, these cars are now getting safer through software updates after we bought the car. And these were sort of unannounced. I didn't really see these coming, but again, it's all improving their safety. And going back to the insurance thing we started off from the show, there may be levels of coverage where if you have autopilot on your cars and these features are available for you, your premium might also be lower. Now, that's the projection from some of the early reporting we're getting. But no, this is good news for those of us that are listening to the show. Maybe by the time you hear the show, you've already received the update. If that's the case, let us know how your car handles it, because we'd like to see some information on the feedback.
I have a feeling, because it just jogged something in my memory, because these were added, and this is part of autopilot and it's part of safety. It kind of ties in with one of the, and I forget the gentleman's name, but Elon had him on a earnings call. I think it was about 3 quarters ago. They said that one of the things that they were going to do, oh, I know what it was. It was in conjunction when they announced the Autopilot 3 hardware. This was in the summer of last year. And they said that they were going to be working on more safety features based on what Autopilot could detect. So this could be the first start of some of those promised features. I will say it again. I suspect that there may be some extra features, maybe not necessarily safety related, but some other stuff that will be coming that will require the new FSD computer that are not disclosed yet. So I'm just laying it out there just in case they do release something and they say, oh, by the way, it requires the new FSD computer, just for those who might still be sitting on the fence. I don't know. It's just a hunch. I don't have formal information on that. But just because Tesla says our end goal is to do this doesn't mean they can't release some other stuff that they dream up in the meantime that could possibly require the computer. So anyways, thank you for the breaking news, man. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
I love that.
Seems to happen.
I'm so busy running things here that I miss some of this stuff.
It seems to happen on a weekly basis on the show.
Yeah, well, maybe it's one of the perks of running things on a Thursday, I guess.
At night, too, when Tesla, at least their end of their working day in California.
Well, exactly. That does help, when they release these things, because they could be potentially market moving, so they do the announcements after close. All right, the last one that last article or information, a really cool video that surfaced this week, a couple of days ago, showed up on CNBC. And I tweeted this out. I wasn't the first one, but it got a lot of traction. So, and the rumor that was going around that CNBC had aired this and had cut out some of the parts in there and were hunting down the videos or whatever. Anyway, so I grabbed it. I put it on my YouTube channel just for safekeeping. I won't play the video in entirety, but you guys have probably seen this. They brought an investor on. His name is Chamath Palihapitiya. I got his name. Okay, good. Thank you. It's a difficult name. But anyways, if you haven't seen this video, man, are you missing out. This guy gets Tesla and he nails it. And it's amazing. It's worth the 8 minutes of your life to watch this thing. I'll tell you, if you have anybody in your family or friends, whatever, who don't get Tesla and they're talking smack, just give them this video.
That's it.
It is brilliant. I'll put a link in the podcast and the video for the podcast, and you guys can watch it. Highly recommend you watch it. Now, I know, Eric, you had tweeted out some really good quotes from it. Do you remember roughly what he said? I remember one of them. He made a comment about the Zunes, right? Because the host was complaining about, well, there's competition coming. There's competition. There's Tesla killers. And he says,
when the iPod came out, I remember buying all the Zunes in my area, and when the iPhone came out,
that didn't work out so well.
All the Motorola's. So the tweet that I liked the most, the quote that I thought was really kind of stuck out to me, with the entire thing, really was about. It was towards the very end of the video where he said, betting against entrepreneurs that are changing the world has never been a profitable endeavor. Why start now? It's a very profound question because oftentimes we encounter, and I sort of encountered this too, because I mean, I ran for political office and I had these very grand ideas about what my community should be doing. And a lot of the naysayers go, well, you can't do that. You can't do this. It's impossible. You have all these obstacles. There's all these different regulatory issues and so forth. And if you follow politics in Canada, if you follow politics here in the States, if you follow politics wherever you are in the world, of course, we have a lot of followers overseas. I mean, there's ongoing issues there too. When you're faced with a challenge, sometimes the very grand ideas tend to invite the greatest criticisms. And Elon has, and this is something that I thought was really a great summary of the interview, which is people who critique Tesla and their actions, especially with Elon being the face of the company, they tend to go, well, but. Yeah, sure, he's doing this, but what do we think about that? You know, this is a concern and so forth. And I'm thinking, Tesla and Elon are doing things that has never been done before by any auto manufacturer, by seldom an entrepreneur. There's been visionaries that are like Elon that have great ideas for some stuff in their own various business sectors that have faced some of the same criticisms that Elon has. And Palihapitiya is essentially telling people, what did you expect for him to do? I mean, he's doing this very advanced thing. We're trying to combat climate change. I mean, he was talking about in the video that if you had a guy, if I give you a golf club and I put a cup out and there were some San Francisco Bay backdrops, so if I put a cup out there and I give you 1 million hits, you maybe once, maybe twice will land the cup or the ball in the cup. Mm-hmm. But Elon could do it 20 times, 10 times, whatever it is. And his point there is that that's just the kind of gifted talent that he is. He just has that innate thing. So all in all, what the video really echoed is, and look, the moderator for CNBC did a good job of asking, I think, good questions. He was sort of being the devil's advocate, I think, in the interview for the majority of it. And half the interview is very centric on Wall Street and economics, which if you're not that keen on it, you're hearing terms, you're like, huh? I don't know what that means. But at the end of the day, the 8 minutes, just when it's all said and done, you want to just kind of cheer for the defense of the company, because ideally he's saying Elon is in a very difficult position where if he doesn't do the things the way he's doing it, the company is not going to be the success that it is. And essentially, you know, he was asked, like, if you were to do this all over again, would you continue buying? Oh, sure. Would you do that? Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, because he sees why this is significant, not just the what, but the why, and the why is the big part of that. So I found the interview just astounding. I'm glad that there's now copies of this on multiple channels that I've seen already, ours included. But yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't tell people you really should watch this video, if for nothing else, just to understand that an investor, you know, we see so much on social media, specifically on Twitter, all of the Teslacs, the TSLAQs are always questioning, you know, all the way the things that Tesla does. This is someone who's basically in that ilk of investors who's raising his hand, going, "Yeah, I would invest in them a million times over and never think twice about it."
Two things from this video or this interview that I want to mention. First of all, the host is very restrained. He asks the usual questions that people off the street who don't know Tesla, who haven't been following them, will ask, and it prompts them with the proper questions. The other thing too is he lets Palihapitiya actually talk instead of interrupting.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Now, Palihapitiya also makes a really good point at the end, and I'm glad he spelled it out, because I don't think a lot of people really, I mean, when you talk to people who don't follow Tesla, all they hear is, oh, they're going bankrupt, they might be going out of business, and on all this other stuff. But he makes a point at the end of the video that the negativity that you hear is from people that have a vested interest in making sure that they don't succeed. And these are the hedge funds and the noisy, nasty, noisy negativists, as I call them, on Twitter, who are always out attacking the company. Now, specifically, they don't seem to harp so much on the cars so much, because he also made a point that when you sit in this car, it changes your expectations. Why are there other cars like this? But more importantly, he makes a point to saying that they're attacking Elon and they don't like his style. And that's the thing that they have a problem with, right? And they don't get it. So I'm glad that he actually pointed out those things. And that's one of the reasons I want to share this out with people and people who don't understand what's going on, to separate, like he said in the interview, to separate the facts and the company away from the noise. Because too much people are paying attention to the noise and not understanding the fundamentals underneath.
Yep. Well said.
Ian?
Word. No, I mean, who is it that he went after from MSNBC? Was it Jim Cramer?
Jim Chanos.
Yeah, okay, it was Jim Chanos that he went after. That's right. I thought that was brilliant, because you know,
like the one time every 10 years.
He only makes money once every 10 years.
I was like, wow. Okay.
My understanding is that that's the part they actually cut out from the video.
Well, yeah, but it's weird though. Is if you go back, it's kind of like that created its own blowback, and now if you go on, if you search some of the MSNBC headlines with the names involved, that comes back as like, oh yeah, like he laid the slap down, the smackdown on Jim Chanos. So it's kind of like, I think they realize that's getting more clicks and more traffic than anything else from the interview. So they're just going to cash in on it.
It just goes to prove the headlines is what they're after. It has very little substance of what's actually going on. It's just nice
to see them eat one of their own in the interest of making money.
You know what? This is something that's been irking me for a long time, and so I'm not going to get upset here, but this is my complaint overall with the money market. I do not like a lot of the investor talks that go out there where, this person is going to put some recommendation as to a buy or sell on a stock. Doesn't matter where the company is. It could be Apple, Tesla, Google, anybody. And what they'll do is, let's say, well, I think Tesla's future is da-da-da-da-da. I think they're going to have issues with their cars. So they're prognosticators. But then when you often look at where their rankings are, oh, this person's number 173 out of 206. I'm not going to take that person's guidance on anything. It'd be like if I went to Yelp and I looked at the 116th review on a restaurant and just go, okay, what does that guy say? Oh, he thinks the eggs could be a little bit better. It's one person's advice. It does not mean that, it's right or wrong. But why do we give so much credence to investors who are largely not respected, who are not, who don't have a long documented history of successes in their industry? I'm not gonna
I can answer that one real quick. It's because it's clickbait. Because if it's if these are the guys talking smack against Tesla, it doesn't matter what their rating are. That will get viewers. That will get clicks on the article.
The negativity draws more attention than positive comments, and
it's a cancer in the
negativity over credibility.
It's been going on for the last 25 years. It's out of control.
That's pervasive across social media now. We've given anyone now has a voice to critique whatever they want, and if they make enough noise, that's the term used in this interview. If they're making enough noise, people look at that. They're the fireworks that are sort of the sounds back there. You're looking for them. You can't see where the firework is. You hear it. You know it's there. It's the thunder and the storm, which means the lightning was here at some point, but now all that's left is the thunder. And my overall contention is, can we just agree to not do that anymore? Like, I understand it's flashy, it's great, you want to see it, but why? I don't understand why we're giving so much attention to people who, in the grand scheme of things, are minute and nothing. They're nothing. It's weird. It's just weird that that's where we're at. And the market economy is driven by some guy who's sitting at home in front of his computer on a Tuesday morning, reading his newspaper with a cup of Joe, if he even reads the paper.
On his toilet, no less.
Or whatever it is, in basketball shorts and a tank top. And he's on a conference call like, all right, guys, what are we going to do today? We're going to sell, we're going to 1 to 45. Like, no, that's not, I mean, seriously, it's weird. So weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note. Well, like I said, highly recommend that you check out the video if you haven't done so, because it be one of the best 8 minutes of your life if you ever watch. If you're a fan of Tesla, maybe not, doesn't matter, but I think anybody who really likes what Tesla's doing and believes in what Elon's doing, I mean, universally all agree. This guy gets it.
I'd go a step further, Trevor. This is something I've shown to a number of people who don't understand Tesla and have a lot of the same concerns. And I thought, watch this guy's take on it. Like, I think for a lot of people who are on the fence, if you're a Tesla hater, it doesn't matter. There's no convincing you. But for someone who's a little bit, either critical or on the fence, I think this is a good solid piece to sort of make them understand it. Very articulate, like a nice clean image of why there's a huge future in this company.
Yeah. I wish there were more people like this guy. Yeah,
and I also think that what I think is undercut and undervalued a lot of times when we're talking about Tesla is their energy division. To me, the cars are a big part of it. That's the thing that we see all the time because they're mobile, but their energy storage, their solar roofing, all the different things they're doing now with energy, to me, is going to be much more significant. Puerto Rico, now there's talks here in the U.S. of trying to get it to be the 51st state and to give remedies for their debt and stuff like that. But one of the major stories that came out last year after Hurricane Maria was in Puerto Rico, Tesla brought energy storage solutions to the island to get them back online so they can start getting, basically their lives back to normal again for as best they could. We're seeing energy solutions just popping up all the time around the world. I really, really wish moving forward there'd be more coverage about that. I know part of it is just how much stuff they can make and when they can get it out there. Florida's the Sunshine State, and there's still like roadblocks for getting Tesla solar down here. But to me, I think in the next 10 to 20 years, that might be more significant for Tesla's bottom line than cars.
I would tend to agree. It's still in its infancy right now. Right now, they're just production constrained. They've said so. They don't have enough cells to handle the power walls or even the power packs at this point. I mean, it's one of the reasons they had problems with Model 3 production early on, because they had shifted some of that production over for the power packs for Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, they get that stuff sorted out. If they can fill out some of the Gigafactory and work with Panasonic, maybe it'll remove some of those constraints and they can move forward. But yeah, there's a lot of potential for that side of the business. But they only have so many resources, so they have to. Even the solar panel Gigafactory in Buffalo. There's been a lot of reports about that it's not really going anywhere. So there are some segments of the business that certainly need some more TLC, and I'm sure they will give it the attention once they get past some of these other roadblocks. They have some priorities, and that's profitability. They got to stay profitable, because without money, they can't keep running the business. All right, well, that really brings us to the end of the show. You'll notice that we didn't take viewer, listener, or questions this week because we just had so much to talk about. So we will hold some of that stuff until next week. So watch for a tweet either Wednesday or Thursday next week soliciting for some more questions and stuff. We really appreciate it. It's one of the favorite things of the show, but we just had so much to cover. So if you have something, just wait. We'll answer it next week. Anyhow, so that's the end of the show. Eric, since you're on the screen, where can people find you if they want to have a chit-chat with you?
Sure. You guys can find me on Twitter. The handle is ECFix. That is ECFIX.
Excellent. And Ian, gentlemen, where can they find you?
Well, before that, I'm going to work in a real quick plug, because the next 3 days I'm going to be down at Place Bonaventure here in Montreal for the Salon du Véhicule Électrique, the Montreal Electric Vehicle Show, which I think is going to be a huge smash hit in light of the new federal incentives. I think we're going to get a lot of traffic. We had about 24,000 people out last year for that show.
Huge.
So the company I work for, Fast Wheels, is going to have our booth there again, twice the size what we had last year, and Magneto himself is on display in the booth, wearing a new set of our Fast EV line wheels. We're doing a brand, this is the official launch for the line. We're doing one of the world's first EV-specific brands of wheels, lightweight, flow-formed, and tomorrow we're taking the official drape off the 3D printed prototype of the EV01 Plus, which is our full aero aftermarket wheel.
Yeah, you guys developed your own aero wheel type of...
We did. It
looks really good, too.
Wait till you see the actual 3D print. It's so awesome.
Eric and I have seen them. It looks amazing.
Yeah, it came out fantastic. So that's going to be the centerpiece. We're going to do the reveal on it tomorrow.
Excellent.
So, yeah, very stoked about that. So if anyone near Montreal in the next 3 days, please come down, say hi. I would love to see you. And if you have any questions on it, certainly hit me up on Twitter, at Ian Pavelka. And you can also find me on Tesla Owners Online, Mad Hungarian. And finally, if you are so inclined and you're looking for the Weapon of Mass Adoption shirt or the classic Evolve wear, that is all still available. And soon to be Model Y version of the Evolve shirt. Yes, working on that right now.
As usual, the links will be in the video description if you'd like to get one of those. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you for being on the show. As usual, you can also find me on Twitter. The handle is Model3Owners. And don't forget, check me out on the forum. That's TeslaOwnersOnline.com. And if you like the show and you'd like to support us, please have a look at our Patreon page. You can find that at patreon.com/Model3Owners Club. I'm not changing the URL. Everybody knows it. We're going to leave it like that. So a big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. And lastly, I want to say a big thanks to our 3 sponsors. That's Dulaban Insurance, Evanex, and our great friends at Fine Lab Ceramic Coatings, who do such a great job of keeping the lights on and bringing you awesome products for your Tesla vehicles. That's it for this week, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
See ya.